Today I wanted to talk about GABA, or I believe it's called gamma aminobutyric acid. I believe that's it, but it's not to be confused with gabapentin. It's actually a supplement that your brain naturally produces this, and GABA is an amino acid that helps mimic some of the features of what GABA does naturally in your brain. I discovered it recently going through, well, I discovered it in the past because I used it in the past here and there for social anxiety and for just generalized anxiety for panic attacks, that kind of thing. And recently rediscovered it for use coming off of for benzos, for coming off of Clonopin, because it's been super helpful. And a bunch of studies I read on it and different people, their testimonies having used this to come off of different benzos a lot easier because of the calming effects and the way that it does work similar to benzodiazepines in the brain. GABA is an amino acid and a neurotransmitter, and it's basically the brake system in your brain. It's basically the calming agent when things get kind of out of whack. And I notice with myself, I've tried a lot of different supplements, and one thing that it says it kind of counters is glutamine or glutamate, which I've tried that in the past, and it was a supplement that was supposed to help with whatever I needed at the time. And I tried it, and I was whacked out. I had a really hard time on it. It was almost just overwhelming and just too much for me, and I felt really excitable and anxiety and headache, just clenching teeth, way too much for me. So it's interesting to learn that GABA is actually the opposite of that, which actually causes, if there's too much of one or too little of the other, it kind of brings down the glutamate in your body, the glutamine. So I have started using it and have noticed incredible results from using it, not just for the withdrawal off of the benzodiazepine, but just in general with my social anxiety. I didn't take it very seriously before because I read a lot of articles talking about how it doesn't cross the blood-brain barrier, or some people believe it does, others don't. So and other people saying they had no effect to it. So I didn't put too much stock into what I read and didn't really give it a go. But recently I have tried taking a fair amount of it at each time and using it for sleep as well, and have seen incredible results. And it's really become, aside from magnesium, one of my favorite supplements to use. To understand the glutamate and GABA dynamic, basically, when you have too much glutamate, you could have seizures from that. And then on the opposite end of that, with too much GABA, you could actually have a coma. It's kind of that awake type sleep type thing. But what I found interesting was that I thought taking GABA, I would be tired all the time, I'd be dragging around. But it's actually been the opposite. I've actually had a more focus in my life. And it's been interesting. And I'm trying to figure out exactly why it happens that way. But it's almost like my body was so overwhelmed with stress before, and maybe in like this fight or flight, that trying to think, like center in on any one thing, was difficult for me. So now, by calming myself down and feeling like everything's at peace within my body, even while going down on benzos, I just feel like I have this more intent focus on things. I'm able to comprehend more of what's going on in the world and just around me, and live more, I guess, in the present moment, if that makes sense. Just kind of understand what's happening right now instead of looking at possibilities and, oh no, I might say this weird thing to that person, or just that fear and doom and gloom that used to happen so much from anxiety to me. So, not surprisingly, that low GABA levels can result in anxiety, can result in insomnia, can result in like poor mood, can result in just overwhelming stress, those kind of things. So, it's not surprising that GABA, the supplement, actually relieves just this huge blanket of things. And poor mood was one of them. I had a really poor mood a lot of time, I think, just because of how I was so overwhelmed by things. And I remember that there were points where I could hear, somebody would start talking to me if I was trying to read, and it was almost too much for my brain to process at times. And I would feel overwhelmed. I would get a lot of, if I was getting a lot of emails or messages or two texts coming in at the same time, it was sometimes such an overwhelming the system, to where I just felt really kind of spiraled out. But using this GABA, I don't feel like that anymore. I feel very calm. I feel very collected. I feel calm, cool, and collected. I feel chill and without being too tired. I'm generally tired anyways, so I don't know. I can't vouch for if I'm feeling any more tired, but overall, I feel pretty good and I don't feel any more tired than I did before. And I do notice that at night when I do take it, it does certainly help with the insomnia and helps me get a restful night's sleep, a different night's sleep. So, if I'm understanding correctly, a lot of drugs that we use activate and work with GABA. So, using there's dopamine, but there's also GABA. So, if you're using something like alcohol, I believe works on GABA receptors, benzodiazepines work on GABA. A lot of these things that calm us down and make us feel relaxed and uninhibited are things that are working on the GABA supply. So when we actually add GABA to our system, and whether or not it crosses the brain barrier is to be determined, but when we add that, a lot of people experience much more calm feeling, a feeling that's similar to having a couple of drinks without slurred speech and acting funny and having the euphoria that goes along with it. I just feel overall a better mood. So that being said, GABA is good for things like anxiety, uh, overwhelming stress, just general stress, for insomnia, for your overall mood and feeling better. A lot of people use it for weightlifting. I believe it's also helps kick up human growth hormones, so that you can get more muscle mass. I believe it is. I obviously don't work out, so I'm not sure exactly how that works. But I know that they do take high dose in just my research that those that train weightlifting take higher doses of it for the, and I'm sure there's a lot of good things that come from human growth hormone. It can help with difficulty concentrating and what was I going to say again? Memory problems? No. And it helps with muscle weakness. It can help with or muscle fatigue and soreness and recovery from working out. So GABA can help with a lot of things. One thing it helps with is anxiety. It can help with chronic stress. It can help with depression because of the way it works on your mood. It can help with memory, concentration, different things that have to do with the mind. Big time helps with insomnia for me and just getting a better night's sleep and actually more solid sleep where you can actually really get some Z's. It's just a smaller amount of time and I get a lot more sleep. And then muscle soreness. A lot of people use it for recovery from working out, but also just in general, if you have something like fibromyalgia or some kind of muscle related pain, it should help with that, or it could help with that. It did for me, and it's helped with the mild arthritic type pain that I have. So it's been beneficial in that way, along with headaches. And then another interesting thing, and a reason I wanted to share this, is that it helps with those in recovery, those people that are recovering from drug addiction or substance abuse type issues. And the reason being, I believe, is because, like I said, a lot of these use GABA. They play on our GABA receptors when we're looking at these things. And a big problem that a lot of us have when we start recovery is that we feel more anxious. We feel like kind of amped up and not that great, maybe some mood issues. And GABA can help with all of those, which means that by taking just a little bit of GABA, you can ease those symptoms down of the anxiety and that kind of wound up feeling, which would normally be the times you'd want to grab for a drink or your drug of choice. As far as dosage, I could not find anything where there was like an RDA or that type thing, or anything just really by medical professionals since it's a supplement. But what I did find was a variance of what people were using. A lot of people use it for high blood pressure, and when they do, because it calms, I believe, they use it at like 10, 20 milligrams. I'm using it for stress and anxiety, as well as coming off the benzodiazepine, as well as sleep. So I went a little bit higher, and a lot of people I saw were using like 1 to 200 milligrams, and they were using it like 2 or 3 times a day. So I'm using about 750 in the evening to 1,000 milligrams before sleep. And then I break up smaller doses through the day, maybe 250 to 500 milligrams. And I take those kind of as needed. As I know that people do take it 3 or 4 times a day. So me, I generally take it about 3 times a day. And like I said, about 250 to 500 milligrams earlier in the day, so it won't cause sleepiness. And then I take that big dose of like 750 to 1,000 milligrams, right, like an hour before bed, and it socks me out. Depending on how you respond to it, it might either work immediately. Like in my case, I take it and I immediately feel the effects. Other people say that they need to take it for a few weeks before they start to see the benefit from it. But at this point, like, I need something that's going to chill me out within a half hour to an hour, and I'm good to go with the GABA. And maybe that's because I did build up something when I wasn't sure that it was working correctly. There are a few side effects that people say can happen to you. I haven't noticed too many. I usually have a lot of problems when I take supplements. Like, if there's a side effect that can happen, I'm going to generally have it. But this stuff is really well tolerated by me, and I haven't had any major problems. I've had a flushing reaction that's similar to if you've ever taken the B vitamin niacin. I have a feeling of tingling in my skin. It actually feels good, very calming to me, and just kind of this nice warm sensation. But I did experience that, and I've heard that other people have. Sometimes a little bit of stomach upset if I take too much. It can cause diminished appetite, and for some people that's good if they're working on weight loss. And for many, as I'm using it for sleep, it can cause drowsiness and fatigue, which is perfect. I've heard of some people that do take 1,000 milligrams to 2,000 milligrams that evening only before they go to bed, and then don't take it during the day. And I believe it still works effectively for them in that way. Whereas I like to take a little bit in the afternoon and then the higher dose in the evening. If you're interested in giving it a shot, I'm going to put a link down below that will have the brand that I use. If you do buy it through that link, I do get a small little 10% profit from it every time you buy, which helps support this channel. And it's the one that I've found to work the best. I've tried a few different kinds, and I do like this one the best. If you'd like to become a patron and want to do so anonymously, that's cool. Just let me know when you send in the donation that you would like to remain anonymous, and I will make sure that your name isn't mentioned. That's it for this time, guys. Please subscribe for more content and like the video if you did in fact like it. Comments are always appreciated as well. Until next time, guys, God bless.